Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to go over all the buffs that you need to kill bosses way faster. So I'm going to go over all the important and readily attainable buffs for bossing and where to get them because there are a lot of them in the game right now and it gets kind of confusing on where to get them. So I think a video like this could help a lot of people to consolidate all the information and where to get all the buffs. And there's even some newish buffs that have been added, so I wanted to go over those as well. So the first thing I want to mention is that if you go to any boss in the game and you go to the entry portal, when you enter practice on the bottom left, you can see a bunch of the buffs in the game that you can toggle on when you enter into a boss in practice mode. Now these aren't all the buffs in the game, these are only some of them, so I'll go over all the buffs and how to get them in this panel first, and then I'll go over all the buffs not in this panel afterwards. So the first 4 buffs are guild skills, or G skills for short, and G skills increase your boss damage, IED, damage, and critical damage by a big amount, and these are very important buffs in the game, arguably the most important. Now the way you get these is when you are in a guild, depending on how high level your guild is, you'll get access to these buffs in your guild UI under guild skills on the left tab, and to use them you just double click them or you can place them on your keyboard for easy access. The next skill is a skill called Heaven's Door. This is a bishop skill that essentially gives you 1 extra life. When your HP hits 0, it protects you and lets you live 1 time. You can buy this buff in potion form from the collector in any town. The next skill, Hero's Echo, is attained by hitting level 200 on any class. This skill increases your attack and magic attack by 4%. Now some classes have a level 200 pre-quest to get it. Just accept the quest and it only takes a minute to do, and once you have it, it's in your beginner tab of your skills and you can pop it from there. Next is advanced weapon tampering. You get this skill by hitting Meister rank in smithing, and once you get to Meister rank, the skill will be in your beginner tab to use. This skill increases your critical damage by 5%. Next is the sparkling red star potion. What this does is it increases your boss damage by 20% for 2 hours. This potion can drop from any boss, normal, Lotus, or Damien and above. Now if you don't have that potion and you're down bad for them, alternatively you can use the advanced boss rush boost potion. To get these you can craft them using Meister level alchemy. However, the ingredients are rare as they use brilliant dusk essence and regular dusk essence, which are both very rare materials in the game. So I would stick with the sparkling red potion because they are easier to obtain and they just drop from bosses. Next is the Seiram's elixir. This gives 10% attack and magic attack, 50 attack and magic attack, 10% boss damage, 16% crit damage, and 20% crit rate. You can buy this from the collector in any town. If you don't see it, you can accept a pre-quest called Collector's Request, and that pre-quest gives you access to the Seiram's elixir as well as the Heaven's Door potion that I mentioned earlier. Next is this buff right here. People call this buff Ursus buff. To get Ursus buff, you go into the Ursus entry map, and there's an Ursus shop that you can buy this buff at, and to get these materials you just have to do Ursus, and by doing Ursus you get these materials to buy the buff. And this buff increases your weapon attack and magic attack by 30 for 30 minutes. And it's also an atmospheric buff, which means the buff gets cast to all players in the map. The next buff is the Greater Blessing of the Guild, which also increases your attack and magic attack by 30. People call this buff G buff, and how you get this buff is if you open your guild UI, on the bottom left, when you are in a guild, you should see a button called G-Reg Support. You click this button and you'll get 30 of these per week. And this buff is an atmospheric buff as well. Next is Fame buff, and you get this buff by faming someone either in a level 275 or a level 250 chair, and it'll either give you 50 attack and magic attack or 40 depending on the level of the chair that you fame. Next is Legion Might, which also gives 30 attack and magic attack. You can buy this buff from the Legion coin shop at any town using Legion coins. Next is the Monster Park potions. The extreme red, green, and blue potions. The red potion increases your attack by 30, the blue potion increases your magic attack by 30, and the green potion increases your attack speed by 1. The green potion is very important for almost every class in the game, so make sure when you enter bosses you at least pop this potion, as well as the Seiram's elixir and the G skills, as those are the 3 most important buffs that you should pop before entering a boss. And the way you get the red, green, and blue Monster Park potions is when you open Monster Park boxes from doing Monster Park runs, you'll get Monster Park coins which allow you to buy these potions from the special shop on the left hand side of Monster Park. The coins are pretty easy to come by if you are doing your Monster Park runs every day. Now those are all the more well-known buffs in the practice mode panel. Let's go over some of the lesser known ones that aren't in this panel. The first buff I want to go over is the MVP superpower buff. The way you get this buff is that when you are MVP status in the cash shop, You can claim a gift pack from the cash shop every 10 days of the month, and depending on your MVP tier, it gives more of these MVP superpower buffs. And this buff also increases attack and magic attack by 30. The next buff is Tengu's buff, and the way you get Tengu's buff is when you unlock Tengu in Threads of Fate, you can get his closeness up to 70, which allows him to be summoned, and that gives you a buff for 20 attack and magic attack for 1 hour. Now there are other buffs that fit in the same slot as Tengu buff, and they don't stack with it, like Cider and Onyx Apple, but I recommend just using Tengu buff because you can cast it once a day, and it's much more attainable than an Onyx Apple, and it's stronger than a Cider. Next is the Advanced Stat Potion. To get these, you can craft them using alchemy. Now you have to be level 10 alchemy to craft the good ones, and you can buy the recipe for this from the recipe merchant on the top right of Ardent's Mill, and this potion increases your stat by 30 for 15 minutes. The next buff I want to go over is Home Buff. So to get Home Buff, you open your character stat sheet and click on Go to My Home at the top, and when you level up your caretaker at your home, it levels up these buffs right here, and what you can do is click Receive Buff, and you can receive a boss attack power buff, and this is very good, but you can only get it once a day. Also, you can buy a VIP buff from event shops. Most events have event shops with these buffs in it these days. All you have to do is buy the VIP buff selector coupon, and you can choose the red stats buff from the selector coupon. And this buff is pretty good. It gives 15 attack and 15% boss and ID. Now that's the last buff that I wanted to mention, but I do want to mention a few tips on making your life easier when it comes to these buffs. The first thing is to make sure you use combo key on your keyboard. In your key bindings, you should see a key called combo key, and what this key allows you to do is when you hold the key down, it allows you to pop a bunch of different buffs when you hold that key down. So as you can see, when I'm holding the key down, a menu pops up on the bottom middle of your screen showing you all the buffs that are bound to that key, and the way to bind buffs to this key is on the bottom left. There's a button called combo key in your key bindings, and this combo key has 10 slots for buffs, and you can drag and drop buffs into this section for easy access to buffs. And make sure you tick display on screen on the bottom as well, so when you hold the key down, it shows on the bottom. Another thing I would do is in your options under UI, about halfway down, tick this button called auto sort buffs. And what this does is it sorts your buffs on the top right of your screen, so it's not a big cluttered mess. And it sorts your buffs into 4 separate rows. The first row are skills that are only from your own specific class. The second row are common skill buffs, which are skills that are cast that are class agnostic. The third row are item buffs, which are buffs that are popped out of your use tab. And the fourth row are all these skills that are cast onto you by other classes. And one other thing I want to mention is that all the buffs in the game stack differently with each other. There's no real way to find out what stacks with what. So I have a little cheat sheet here, and what this sheet shows is what buffs stack with what other buffs in the game. And I'll go ahead and leave this cheat sheet in the description as well, so you can see what stacks with what at a glance. Anyways guys, I hope you guys found this video helpful, and if you did find it useful and you want to see other MapleStory videos, I would appreciate a sub to the channel, and yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.